Martell recently sat down with his mom, Marlene, and had a conversation that is already sparking a lot of reactions. In their discussion, Martell talked about moving Arionne, also known as Coleslaw, and their son into his investment property. He explained that since her lease is up, he doesn't see the point in putting her somewhere else and paying rent when he already has a property sitting empty. According to Martell, it just makes more sense to move her in there instead of paying for another place. He also said that he can't have her move in with him until there is a ring on her finger. In his mind, this plan is the most practical solution, and he also framed it as a way to provide a home for his son and the mother of his child. During the conversation, Martell gave the impression that he has been covering many of Arionne's expenses. The way he spoke made it sound like he's been paying her bills, helping with rent, and taking financial responsibility for her household in addition to his own. But this is where people have started questioning whether he is really doing all of that or if he's making it sound more impressive than it is. Some believe that Martell likes to present himself as a provider in a traditional sense, but when you look deeper, the situation might not match the image he's putting forward. Martell has been on Love and Marriage, Huntsville for years and reportedly earns a good income from the show, possibly 6 figures. He also gets producer credits, which means there's extra money coming in. But even with that, some people doubt that he's been paying all of Arionne's monthly bills, things like rent, utilities, groceries, insurance, and gas, while also taking care of his own expenses. The reality is, no matter how much someone earns, handling 2 full households can be a serious financial strain. It raises the question, has Martell been covering everything, or is he exaggerating to make himself look more like a man who has it all under control? Another point in this conversation was Martell saying that he plans to marry Arionne one day. When Marlene asked him about it, he replied that he has thought about getting married again and that if she's that person, then yes, she will be the one he marries. But this comes with the statement that they will not live together until they are married, which he says is part of his values. He describes it as a traditional choice, but many viewers find that ironic, given how his relationship with her started in the first place. A truly traditional man wouldn't have stepped outside of his marriage to begin with, and that's why some people feel he's using the word traditional in a way that doesn't match his past actions. Marlene's role in this conversation was interesting. She admitted that it took her time to adjust to Arionne being in her son's life. She said she was hurt when Martell's marriage ended and that she saw his family, with Melody, as her family too. In the past, she didn't hide the fact that she disapproved of his cheating. But over time, she adjusted, and she now says she sees Arionne as a nice person. Still, when you listen carefully, it's clear that Marlene is careful with her words. She seems to be choosing her tone in a way that keeps the peace with Martell. It's possible that she knows he doesn't like public criticism from family members, especially on camera. We've seen before that Martell doesn't handle public pushback well. During the Vegas trip and at the launch of his wine brand, he was caught on camera telling his uncle not to challenge him on national television. The producers even added closed captions showing what he said. That moment showed how much Martell cares about his image. Some people see this as a sign of narcissistic traits, wanting to be seen as perfect rather than human. If that's the case, it makes sense that Marlene might avoid saying things that would embarrass him on the show, but in this scene, she couldn't resist adding a little shade. Toward the end of their conversation, Marlene made a comment that hinted at Arionne's history with Martell. She said that Arionne went through a lot to get you, which was essentially pointing out that she was a side chick who stuck around through sneaking around, risky behavior, and even pregnancy losses before eventually having a child with him. When she said it, Martell turned his head, almost as if he was uncomfortable or annoyed that she brought it up. That small reaction made it easy to imagine that he might have scolded her off camera afterward. The fact that the producers left that comment in the episode is also telling. They could have edited it out if they wanted to protect Martell's image, but they kept it in, likely because it adds drama and shows a glimpse of tension between him and his mom. That's the kind of moment reality TV thrives on, in the small, unpolished reactions that say a lot about the real dynamics behind the scenes. Martell's decision to move Arionne into his investment property also raises financial questions. Normally, when someone owns an investment property, the goal is to rent it out to a paying tenant and earn income from it. In this case, he's choosing to let her live there, which means he's giving up the rental income he could be making. Unless she is paying something toward living there, this is essentially another way of supporting her financially. If she does have her own income, it's unclear where it comes from, but Martell seems satisfied enough with the situation to make this move. He also talked about wanting to be sure that she's the person he wants to be with before moving forward with marriage. On one hand, that sounds reasonable, you don't want to rush into something as serious as marriage. But on the other hand, the way he says he doesn't want to take too much time suggests that he's already leaning toward making it happen. It's almost like he's trying to balance between looking cautious and still keeping her in his life in a way that feels secure to her. From the outside, it's hard to tell whether Martell's approach is about genuine love and commitment or about maintaining control of the situation. Providing housing, talking about paying bills, and hinting at marriage all give the appearance of stability. But those same actions can also be a way of keeping someone dependent and tied to you. If you control where they live and how their bills are paid, you have a lot of influence over their choices. Another thing worth pointing out is the contradiction in his traditional stance. He says they can't live together until marriage, but they already have a child together, and their relationship began while he was still married to someone else. That's why many people see his version of tradition as selective, using the label only when it fits his current narrative. In reality, true traditional values would have looked very different from how this relationship began. The emotional part of the conversation with Marlene is also important. She was honest about how much his divorce hurt her, saying she saw that marriage is forever. That shows how much the breakup affected not just Martell and Melody, but their extended families too. Divorce doesn't just end a relationship between two people, it changes the dynamics for everyone connected to them. Marlene had to adjust to a new reality, and for a while, she resisted it. Now, even though she says nice things about Arionne, it's likely that those old feelings haven't completely disappeared. When she shaded Arionne at the end by pointing out what she went through as the side chick, it wasn't just a random comment. It was a reminder of how this relationship started and the messy history behind it. Even if she's trying to be polite most of the time, moments like that slip through and show how she really feels. Martell's reaction, turning his head, showed that he noticed it too. All of this circles back to the question of whether Martell is truly paying all of Arionne's bills or if that's just the image he wants to project. Some people think he might help with certain expenses, especially those related to their son, but not necessarily cover everything. Others believe he might be more financially involved than we realize, but even then, it's not the grand romantic gesture he tries to make it seem. It's more of a responsibility that came from choices he made. There's also the matter of how financially responsible Martell is in general. Does he budget carefully and save for the future, or does he spend freely on things like nights out, strip clubs, or other luxuries? If he isn't disciplined with money, that makes the idea of him covering 2 full sets of bills even harder to believe in the long term. And if he is spending in ways that don't build long-term security, that could eventually create problems for both him and Arionne. In the end, this conversation between Martell and Marlene was revealing in more ways than one. It showed the way Martell wants to present himself as a provider, a traditional man, and someone who's in control of his personal life. It also showed the undercurrents of doubt, both from the audience and from his mom, about how much of that image matches reality. The little moments, like Marlene's shade, Martell's head turn, and the way he talks about money, all tell a deeper story than the words alone, and that deeper story is about image versus reality. Martell may genuinely believe he's doing the right thing by moving Arionne into his property and talking about paying her bills. But for many people watching, it comes across as an attempt to rewrite the narrative of how their relationship started, while still holding on to control of the situation. Whether or not he can really afford to be the kind of provider he claims to be, and whether this path will lead to the marriage he talks about, remains to be seen.